y'all. Welcome to Tool Time with Texas Tiff. Today we're talking about caulking. Okay, so the first step to doing any kind of caulking is going to be determining where you're going to be doing the work so that you know what type you need to go get. When you get to the store, you're gonna see hundreds of different kinds, colors, and all the things. Let me give you a quick basic overview. Anything that says kitchen, bath, and plumbing is gonna be waterproof, and it's gonna be something you can use in your restroom. I would say at least do a mid-grade, if not a little higher, because it's gonna help with mildew. It's also gonna keep it from cracking and stretching. We're actually gonna go work on a door frame, and this is my favorite brand. This is the one that I use all the time. It says crack proof on it. It's super important to me. If I'm gonna spend the time doing all of this work, I wanna make sure I'm not having to do it twice. If you don't wanna use a caulking gun and you're just doing something really small, just a tube of it will work great. There's actually a little area over here I could use something like that on without having to break out a caulking gun. But I'm gonna show you how to load this and then we're gonna get started. So I've done this wrong a million times till I finally figured out how to get it right. Let me see if I can help you do it right the first time. So the first thing we're gonna have to do is you gotta cut the tip off of our caulk tube here. Most of your caulking guns, this is a really inexpensive one from the hardware store, has actually a blade in here that's gonna help me cut that tip. So I'm just gonna pop that in there, squeeze, maybe, there we go. Well, I guess we need a new blade. When your caulking gun's being a turkey, you can always use just a pair of utility scissors to trim the top of that off. So one of the biggest mistakes that I personally made when I was doing this was I would forget to poke the foil seal that's inside this. There's actually, on pretty much every caulking gun, there's some kind of pin on the side that you can slide out. You need to pop that down into the tube to poke a hole in that. You'll know you've done it because when you pull it out, it's gonna have some of that on there. This one is a very basic caulking gun. It's very easy to use. You just have to pull this pin back. We're gonna put our tube that we've already poked the hole in. If you don't poke the hole in this, it's actually gonna explode out the bottom, just so you know. I mean, not that I know that from experience or anything. There's little teeth on the bottom. If you look down inside, you can see, if we rotate that to the bottom, it's gonna help it grab and push it all the way to the front. Okay, an important thing to be watching for also when you're choosing your caulking, and I'm also speaking from very sad experience on this, is to pick your color. So like this one is gonna be clear, and you can see the tip on that is clear. But these are all white. I accidentally bought one that was antique white one time, and I was working on a project at 3 in the morning. There's not very many hardware stores open at 3 in the morning, so guess who got to finish the caulking job with the wrong color? So it looked yellow and faded in all of the cracks and seams that I was doing. I had to go back over it and paint every single seam to make sure it was covered up. So make sure you're checking to get the right color. Most of the time you're gonna do white or clear. So this is what caulking around a door frame should look like. They've already painted over it. This is what it should not look like. You shouldn't have a gap where you can see between. Do you see the difference? It's a really easy fix, and I'm gonna show you how. Okay, one of the most important things that I've learned while doing this the hard way is to always have some kind of cheap rag that's wet with you while you're doing this. You are going to make a mess. It's probably also gonna get all over your clothes. So we're gonna start at the bottom of this frame here. And we're just gonna pull the trigger on this, and you're gonna see the caulk start to come out. I'm gonna go back to where it stopped earlier. We're just gonna throw some in there real quick. There we go. And the more you do this, the more comfortable you will become with it. Just remember, it's really easy to wash and really easy to come off. Don't panic if you make a mess. Even if you drop it, just wipe it up with a damp towel. It'll come up just fine. We're gonna go back and do the same thing here. Smooth that out. Just putting all that down in those corners. The bottoms are always the hardest part. Now, see how that got a little too much over on the texture there? I'm probably gonna need to come back and fix that a little bit. But it's super simple, just a little bit on my fingers. This is a waterproof one. Now, when you start working with the clear stuff, that's latex, that stuff is nasty, it's super sticky, and it's really messy. I hate doing that, I'll just have somebody else come do it. But this part's really simple. So as you can see, we've filled in what that gap is gonna look like. We're gonna go back and touch up paint along the edge there so that the wall color covers that up. This is usually dry in about 30 minutes and you can paint that no problem. And it's gonna give it that beautiful seamless look like that. Super, super easy. Not hard to do at all. It does take a little bit of practice. You'll kind of start to figure out if your hole that you've cut on the end is too big, you're gonna have too much coming out, it's gonna ooze everywhere. But you'll start to figure out a rhythm for it. And remember, you can always cut more. It's hard to put the plastic tip back on. So, a little Texas tip hack here for you. You're very rarely gonna use an entire tube of caulking. Just grab a nail with a nice flat end on it. You've probably got one in your tool bag somewhere. It helps to seal that in, and then you're ready for the next time. One of the things that people don't realize when they're purchasing a brand new home, like the one we're standing in right now, is that it's going to need some maintenance pretty quickly. So especially in our area, in the North Dallas area, between the weather, the heat, and the expansive soils and things that we have here, the seams in a home are going to kind of expand and contract. That's the whole point of caulking, is it's supposed to give and take. So that's why I prefer this particular brand. It's crack proof, so it's gonna help keep that from splitting and pulling apart for a longer period of time. Now, do you think your builder is using a higher end or a more expensive caulking product? Probably not. So within the first 6 months, I would say to a year, you're really gonna start noticing some pulling away from your countertops to your backsplash, around your window sills, things like that. Okay, the reason caulking is so incredibly important, and it's really easy to do, is it's gonna help keep airflow from coming in around windows and doors. Aside from just looking nice, it's also gonna help keep rodents or animals or bugs from coming in and out as well. Super simple, pretty easy to do, and it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. Thanks so much for joining us today on Tool Time with Texas Tip. We'll see you next time.